This is the gospel according to the IRS, Breaking Points, and Church Financial Updates. And now, here's the authority, Dr. Michael Chitwood, and Breaking Points.
This is Michael Chitwood. Welcome to Breaking Points today. I want to finish up on this part on penalties because, you know, penalties can take money that belongs in God's house to do God's ministry. You can be paying penalties to the IRS and didn't even know what you was paying them for because it's a lack of knowledge. I want to encourage you today to make sure that you have your house in order. I believe this, ladies and gentlemen, that every church that comes into compliance, God really honors that. He takes that to a next level for you. Don't you believe that today? Don't you believe that God requires your house to be in order? I can tell you that God cannot bless a mess. And your destiny and your purpose today is to run your house of worship like it's in order. Make sure it's in order. Keep it a house in excellence. Grab a pad and pen. Let's get started with this last part here. I want to read something to you today. It says penalties for misclassifying employees. Penalties for misclassifying employees. Listen carefully to this. Grab your pad and pen and make that as your header for today because this is hot breaking points. This is IRS tax hot tips. Hot tips. Yeah, that's good. Here, generally, you must be very careful when you decide to treat a worker as an independent contractor. If it turns out that the worker should have been treated as an employee and you didn't do that, then they're going to assess penalties and interest on the tax due payments that should have been submitted. So first of all, the subject is called penalties for misclassifying your employees. Now, with that, I want you to put point B, and I want you to put 5 points there. I'm going to read these to you because they're hot off the press, so to speak, and your church bookkeeper or treasurer needs to get to it. Let's get this thing going and get it in order. Listen, something else. If your church treasurer is not going to try to get their house in order and not going to try to do this and just keep doing the same thing, using QuickBooks, which they can't use over and over again, keep making the same mistakes over and over, I think it's about time that they go, don't you? In fact, a lot of you need to start practicing the word go, and a lot of your board members that's not going to help you get your house in order, maybe they need to consider going also. So point B, the IRS may assess the following penalties. Number 1, failure to withhold income tax if you didn't classify them properly. Number 2, failure to withhold Social Security tax at 15.3 if you did not properly classify them. Listen to this, income tax evasion. Because you didn't consider them to be an employee, you misclassified them. For example, if you have an organ player or a musician in the church, and that person is playing the organ or the piano or some musical instrument every Sunday, working there in the ministry, and you're trying to give them a 1099, you know good and well as I do that they're not a 1099 person. They are an employee, so you have failed to classify them properly. And guess what? You're going to wind up in serious trouble. So income tax evasion. Point number 4, failure to file the correct returns, because if you give them a W-2, they would get one form. If you give them a 1099, then you'd get another form. And the last one there is failure to provide the correct information. A penalty of $50 per statement with a maximum penalty of $1,000. I've given you 5 penalties under point B that the IRS can assess if you misclassify one of your workers. So in all that you do, get understanding. Wisdom is the principal thing. And what you need to do today, ladies and gentlemen, is to realize that when somebody is coming to work for your ministry or your church, you need to realize that they are going to either be an employee or they're going to be a non-employee. That decision is not yours entirely. You have to go by the code and make sure that you're classifying them properly. If you don't, then your house is out of order. Till next time, this is Michael Chitwood.
Breaking Points gives you the latest IRS updates and tax law. Pastor, if the IRS came to your church today, what would you say? If you really want your house of worship in order, call 1-800-345-9117.